Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Cornelius. Welcome back to my third and final video, where I'm finally gonna be showing you guys how I colorize my illustration that we did earlier in this series. So jumping right ahead, we're gonna go into Photoshop and we're gonna drop our image in. Now, the canvas size is 2500 pixels by 2500 pixels. The same size that we used to save this image. Just hitting the select tool, we're going to deselect it, and you'll notice a few things. In the right bottom corner we've got our layers tab. We're going to hit the new layers section twice. The first layer we created we're going to name background, and we're just going to hit G on the keyboard to select our fill tool, making sure we have white color selected. We just turn it into a white layer, and we're going to be moving this down. The actual line artwork, we're just going to rasterize this layer, and we're going to rename it also to line art. It's always a very good idea to name your layers correctly, because otherwise you're just going to have a jumbled mess at the end. Right, the second layer that we created, we're going to be renaming as solids. This is the one that we're going to be using to fill our colors in. But before we do any of that, we're just going to select the line artwork and holding Control, selecting also the background and hitting Command J to copy those two layers. We're going to right click and we're going to group or merge these layers so it's one complete solid image, and hitting G on the keyboard again we're gonna start filling in colors. This isn't a very clean way to do it, but it is very fast, so I normally use this. So we're just gonna select different colors, doesn't matter what, because we're going to be changing it. Now we're just going to be coloring in different parts of our character until we completely covered it with different colors. So once we colored in our character, we're going to be using the magic wand tool to select the individual colors, like this red for instance. We're going to hit Command J and it's going to create a new layer with only that color selected. So we're going to rename that to shirt. So selecting the bottom line art copy, we're going to be selecting all the green color, holding shift of course to multi-select, and we're going to select only the skin color that our character is going to be using. So in other words, everything that's flesh colored, which is going to unfortunately include his eyes, but we're going to color that in manually a bit later. So again, Command J and rename to skin. Select bottom layer, select trousers and hair, holding shift, Command J, rename. And we're just gonna repeat this process for every color with individual body parts. Okay, so that being our last color, we're gonna just quickly switch between. We're gonna switch the layer on and off to see if we've missed anything. You will see a color change if you have. Right now I'm not seeing anything, so we're gonna go ahead and delete this layer by hitting delete on the keyboard. Right, so we're gonna take our line artwork and we're gonna move it to the very top of the layer because it's gonna sit on top of everything. And now we're gonna select all these other solid color layers that we created to shoe number 3 by hitting shift and selecting all of them. We're gonna hit this lock icon and you'll notice little locks have appeared on the layers. This indicates that the layer has been locked, meaning we're only going to be painting what's inside this flat color. Now that's a very useful tool to have if we're going to be using it to color in shades or highlights, because we're not going to be working on this edge. We can just paint and it's going to restrict it to that line, to that edge. So this is the main method that I normally use, and there are other ways of doing it, but this is the one that I like because it's easy and it looks good. Okay, moving right along, we're gonna select the shirt layer. I haven't decided what color I want this guy's shoes and shirt and whatever to be. Actually, you know what, let's go ahead and select the skin layer and let's give him a fleshy color. So we're gonna hit B on our keyboard or select the brush tool. I'm gonna turn opacity up to 100 and I'm gonna be using a hard round brush. So I'm gonna select a color that's close to flesh. Okay. And immediately if you start painting, you'll see it's restricting the paint to only the color selected. So that's the skin section done. I don't know, let's give this guy black hair or brown hair. Maybe brown. Okay, cool. Don't worry if the flat colors look awkward. We are going to be changing it up a little bit later, so yeah, we can, sky's the limit. For his shoes, I'm just gonna select a plain white. Actually, not actual white, like an off-white grey color. I'm just gonna do it like that. Oh, no wait, that's the wrong shoe layer. We're gonna want those ones. Sorry. Moving back, we're gonna be using black. Cool. For the soles of his shoes, we're gonna be using pure white. That. Cool. Trousers, I'm thinking blue jeans. Like a dark denim. Something like that. Or sweatpants, depending. I'm not a really big fan of this red shirt, so we're just gonna make it a bit orangey. Ooh. Not a big fan of all the green. It's bright orange. Something like that. Cool. I think that looks good. Okay, so now we've got our basic color range patched in. I'm just quickly going to show you guys how I go about how I go about shading is shading different parts of my character. So for his hair, I'm gonna minimize my brush size considerably, and I'm gonna switch it to a soft round brush. And I'm gonna also decrease the opacity to about 57. We're going to be holding Alt to bring up the select the teardrop tool. And to select the drop tool, and I'm just going to select that color and just going to darken it slightly so we get a bit of a highlight, shadow color. So, always when working with digital art, it's important to have a good understanding of how light falls onto objects. I'm not the best realistic painter. Digital painting is very hard for me because I do everything with my touchpad or with a mouse. I do not use a tablet because I don't have one yet. I would really like to get one someday, but for now I'm using my trackpad. So like I was saying, it's always important to keep an open mind as to where light is going to be falling on your character, and always make sure you know where the shadow is going to be. If we go over certain areas like here, you see the shadow is falling onto the side of his hair, which is supposed to be light. We're not going to worry too much about that either, because again, this is not a finished product. We're going to be working it, reworking it until we are happy with our final project. So if you do go over the lines, don't panic. Decrease that a bit. Just like that. Cool. Giving your character shade and highlights is really gonna make the character pop opposed to having it like this, a flat, boring image. Okay, so that's the main shadows blocked in. Now we're gonna select this color range and we're just gonna bump it up to a lighter, almost white color. We're gonna decrease the opacity considerably to about 20, and we're gonna decrease our brush size. And now we're only gonna put in highlights where the light's gonna be hitting the hair. So again, here we're going to go over existing shadows that we did, that we regard as mistakes. Actually, I might just increase my brush size a bit. Cool. So, now what I like to do is I like to use the drop tool. By holding Alt, we can switch between that. And then I like to select the mid color between dark and light. So somewhere like around here. And then by decreasing the brush size, I like to use that color, and we're just gonna. I like to use that color to blend my colors together. So. Something like that. And this is where the painting process becomes tedious, because you can take as little or as long as you want refining your artwork. So we're just basically gonna smudge all these. We're just gonna basically smudge all these colors together, so there aren't any harsh lines like you see right here. And when painting, it's always going to be your brush size is changing from big to small constantly. Normally I use the bracket tools. On my PC I use a mouse, so I would normally, I think it was, okay, so you're just going to spend most of your time moving pixels around until you get a nice color range that looks natural. Don't worry if the hair color seems a bit off, or if you're not completely satisfied with it at first. We can always change it a little bit later. I'm going to show you how. But for now, we're just going to quickly do the hair as a demonstration. I'm not going to be painting the entire character whilst talking, because I feel that's going to be a bit long. Now, I really want to keep my videos short. My previous videos were 20 to 30 minutes long, and I find that, yeah, it's it's a bit hard to try and watch somebody push pixels for 30 minutes. So I really want to try and make my videos a bit more shorter, so it's a bit more bearable for people to watch. When I was in an art school, I learned a lesson that I never really understood until it was explained to me by a good friend of mine, which is an artist. He said, whenever you're doing a painting, it's important to make sure that you distribute the same color range across your entire artwork. That way the image or the artwork fits. Everything fits together. It looks like it belongs. So that's what I'm basically trying to do right here. I'm taking color from here and moving it all over the entire section, so it looks like it belongs, instead of it having it localized to that specific area, and then there's another color in this specific area. Here I see a little bit of a highlight that I want to use just to bump that up, but I want to also use it to just fit out that circle. So I think my hair is basically done. Okay, once we finished painting our artwork, our section, and we're happy with how it looks, normally what I would do is I would go into the image tab under adjustments and find the hue saturation. I would then use that to pick the actual color that I want for my hair, or be it skin or clothing, whatever. Because sometimes this works wonders for skin. You think that this color you selected is perfect for skin tone, but after you finish painting it looks weird. And then once you start playing with this hue slider, you actually see the differences, and you're like, okay, this looks better, so let's use that. So for instance, I'm just going to use it on this hair. See, now it's got a bit of a more greenish tint. I'm not a big fan of that. If you move it this way, it's going to become more red. I really don't like that. So I want a good balance between the green. I think something like just a bit more. There, that's perfect. The lightness, I'm just going to move it down to dark, because I really want to darken his hair up. Just like that. That's a very good color. I like that. Cool. We're just going to hit OK. We're going to be repeating this process for the entirety of this whole image. And I mean, look at that. That looks good, doesn't it? I realize my line work has got this weird white glow or halo around it. That means that we just need to block off our line artwork, hit the pure black button, bump our opacity up to 100, and use a hard line brush, and we're just gonna darken all these lines. Because currently it's a horrible grey color. And yeah, at the end of the day, we aren't going to be using the solid black, so it really doesn't matter what line color you're going to be using. Excuse me. Okay. So we're gonna be just moving along. I'm gonna be doing this in time lapse, so please forgive me. You guys can obviously see what I'm gonna be doing. So we're just gonna be finishing off the rest of this character in time lapse, but that's pretty much my whole process, or how I go about shading and highlighting my character. When I'm done with this and I feel that it needs a bit more highlights, I can always go back, put in a bit brighter highlights, and yeah, just go nuts. The sky's the limit. so now we've finished coloring the basics of our character. I'm just gonna create a new layer above the skin layer, and we're just gonna rename this to eyes. Doesn't really matter. I'm gonna be changing my opacity of my brush to 100%, and I'm gonna be using a round hard brush. And I'm just gonna be zooming in on the eyes, making it a bit of an off-white color, so it's not pure white. Like that. And I'm just gonna be coloring in the eye section, making sure not to go over the lines. Now, you might have noticed that the pupils are behind the eyes. We're gonna just find the eyes. I think it's gonna be one of these shoe layers, the shoe number 3. And select that. We're just gonna draw a little marquee box around this. Hit Command J. That's going to be our pupils. And we're going to move this above the eye layer that we created, and that should restore our pupils. Remember to always lock your layers so you can paint on it later. Okay, so this character is not a wonderful piece of art. This was merely for illustration purposes as to how I color my paintings, but yeah, that's pretty much my work process. Now what I would do is normally I would group all these layers together. Command G, so it's one layer. I will turn off the background layer. And as you can see, we get some bleed through from the background, but that's not going to be too big of a problem. In this section, I would just use this entire group and Command J, duplicate it, and I would collapse it, or merge group. Then I will hide the original, so I have a backup to work on. But then this main character is one solid artwork. And from here you can go ahead and use adjustments, brightness, contrast, anything just to liven up your character a bit more. You can also use the hue and saturation if you're not happy with the colors. But this will, keep in mind, this will change the color of everything. Once we're happy with the way our character looks, we can go ahead and save it. So yeah, that's it. We're basically done. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys found this video informative and if not, I'm sorry again, but remember to please, if you liked this video, please remember to hit the like and subscribe button down below. It really helps my channel out a lot, and I might be posting more videos in the future on this matter, on illustrations, if people want to see more artwork.